Yeah, so I'm happy to present here at Mautic Online. I hope you're having a great time, everybody. There's not much interaction, but I'm going to try to get it out of you anyway. And I'm going to start with a question from the audience. So, who has ever in the past used a proprietary product that had a license cost linked to it, and the license cost went down? So, if you have had this experience that the license cost went down, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. So please let the reactions come in. I see many thumbs go down. That's good. Okay, so nobody had the license cost go down, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. Me neither. I've never had this experience in the past. It's the same what you see these days with having your data. Many enterprise customers currently have self-hosted systems or on-premise systems. The proprietary vendors of these days would like to have your data in their clouds. So they're pushing their sunsetting all these on-premise offerings, and they are forcing you to go to a new license model in their cloud. So you're fully dependent on them managing your data, perhaps in the United States or somewhere else where you don't have control over it anymore. And this is not ideal, because at some point you want to get your data out of it, and then apparently you have to pay for it to get it out. This has happened in the past, and then you're really blocked. It's sort of a walled garden you're in at that point in time. But I'm not here to tell you that Mautic is the solution, and perhaps people didn't expect it. No, it's a Mautic that you own, properly integrated with customizations and a supporting partner in your architecture, so embedded in your organization, that might solve the problem for you. So it's not just Mautic, it's more than Mautic alone. At Dropsolid, we deploy Mautic together with content management with AI in our digital experience enablement platform. This is a platform that we've built to deploy open source tools in an easy way and a well-supported way. This gives you the possibility to go faster time to value, to have a stable architecture that can be ISO certified, that's compliant with the AI Act, and that is also scalable, modular, and extensible. By design, everything that we do, we want it to be sovereign, so you're always going to be free from vendor lock-in. Today, I'm going to talk about many aspects on how you could go from a proprietary system to Mautic. And there's a number of aspects that I want to tackle. There's control and sovereignty, being independent. The return on investment, will it cost me money or will I profit from this? The integrations that you do and the flexibility that you get, innovations. And also, is Mautic performant and mature enough to do this? And also, what about the community and scalability? So let's dive in with control and sovereignty. And I'm going to start with an anecdote. US companies will 100% sure hand over your data, your keys to US government. How do I know this? Well, it's happened in the past. I put this post on LinkedIn. This is where the French government asks in a parliamentary question to Microsoft, would you hand over the encryption keys to the governmental data centers to the United States government if asked by the United States government? And they literally said, we would give it to them. We would give the keys to all your data to the United States government. So there's no way, if they do it for French government, they would do it for everybody. And I think this highlights a pain point. You want sovereignty, and what does it mean? Well, it's more than just like having your server in your basement. It's operational independence, economical independence, cultural independence, financial independence, and legal independence. And the only way to be fully independent is by owning your stack, owning your data, be fully in control. There are some side effects which are good by owning your stack and owning your data. The side effects are that it's going to be easier to be ISO certified because you're not dependent on external parties. You can take full control over these things. At Dropsolid, we do this. We're also ISO certified, so I can tell by experience. Also, it's easier to be compliant with GDPR because you know where the data flows. It's not flowing to external systems. You know where it is. It's under your control. And also, there's profits in moving to Mautic from proprietary systems. So to make this clear, what are the returns on investment on moving to Mautic from a proprietary system? This is it in a nutshell. I'll explain each of these a little more later. So there's a lower total cost of ownership in the long term. You're going to go to market faster. The data quality will be better, higher, and there's less compliance risks in doing migrations. So the license cost, there's no license cost, there's no enterprise pricing for more than 150,000 contacts. I'm looking at you, Klaviyo, and other tools. There's no license cost. And about the total cost of ownership, here you see, and the yellow line is open source, and the blue line is proprietary. In proprietary tools, you can start with a lower cost. Open source only becomes relevant after you have some critical mass and in the long term. The more contacts you have, the more emails you send, the more data you process, the higher the cost will be in the end with proprietary systems. The license will never stop. With open source, once you have the database scaled and your system in place, if you have 100,000 or 500,000 rows in your database, nobody cares. It will manage it. So the more you use the system, the more interesting it will become to use open source. Also, you see that there is a gap here. There's higher upfront setup using open source tools versus proprietary system. This heavily depends on the customizations that you need for your setup. If you're really a basic user of marketing automation, it might be that your basic setup of Mautic doesn't need any customization at all, and you can immediately start profiting from the reduced license cost. And so this really depends on a case-by-case basis. Open source allows you to do customization, so you're not waiting on the response of people from Redmond or Austin to do changes or to build something new. You can just customize it yourself with your supporting partner. How do you achieve better quality? Well, you can see all of the steps. You have full transparency on the data you have in your marketing automation. There's no black box processes you own the pipeline entirely. Because you own the data, GDPR, the data never leaves your environment. No need to copy in external companies into your privacy notices and all that. So you can scale and migrate whenever you see fit. Integration and flexibility. Well, Mautic is supposed to be integrated. It's built with a number of integrations out of the box. For example, you see full contact here, MailChimp, HubSpot, Outlook, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, S3. A number of these Zapier, a number of these integrations come out of the box. So it's really meant to be tightly integrated in your architecture. And if you don't see the right tool here, well, Mautic has an extensive API which you can use to connect external data, to push external data into Mautic, which I will show later using Apache HOP. This uses the API as it's supposed to be. It also works with webhooks, so you can also push events and data from Mautic directly into other systems if the integration doesn't provide this. Open source also means customizable by default. This means that you can do the innovations when you're ready for it, if you have the budget for it, the way you see fit. And I've brought you some innovations to show, to just illustrate what's possible. I've created them myself. This is the last one, which I made yesterday or the day before. We were talking on Tuesday that it would be so cool to have AI-powered reports in Mautic. So I was experimenting with this yesterday a bit. This is an idea where you ask Mautic a question, you click Show me the data. It automatically generates a SQL query and will show you the data like this. Obviously, in the next version, you will also want to have like the graph made automatically, and this should be a report that you can then have mailed to you later on. But this is a first thing, just to illustrate that you can have really fast prototypes working on your Mautic application, even with AI. It's a work in process. Another thing that I ideated was an AI integration in Mautic, where I add an AI assistant in the emails, for example, to fix your spelling or to fix the tone of voice, so that you have all your emails in the same tone of voice and no more email errors. But I wanted to go more proficient with, like more in-depth with AI, because at Dropsolid, we provide the Mautic trials on the website of Mautic, and many people are asking the same questions. And I was like, okay, maybe we should make an AI assistant on top of Mautic so that they can just ask the assistant the question right away, and they don't need to email us, and we don't need to respond to them, often with the same answers. So this is why I created an AI console. This is also just an idea. It's not in core. It's just things that to make you think. Things that enterprise customers also like and might be interested in. What you see here is an overlay, which is very similar to games like Counter-Strike or Minecraft, where you still see the context behind the screen. You're on this page. It knows the version that you're on. It knows who you are. It has a number of context in its memory. It also knows all of the documentation URL, so it can bring you to the right documentation. It knows how to use Mautic. You can ask it any question, and it can also do a number of things. This is an illustration on how it works. So what can you do? Obviously, AIs don't load. AIs think. So the AI is thinking, and what you'll see is that it then tells you, okay, it can assist you with a number of tasks, creating contexts and segments, finding the paths, answering questions about the functionality. So if I ask it a question, where can I create contacts? It will say, okay, you can do this in this place, but you can also ask me to do it for you. Navigate to contacts, but you can also provide me with the details. So I just ask, okay, make one for me, Frederik Wouters, with my mail address, and you'll see that it creates the contact straight away after some thinking, and provides you with a link to the page. On this page, which is very nice, you can then click the console again and continue the conversation because it's all kept in memory. So super nice. And this to illustrate that you can set up these innovations and integrations really fast yourself. If you really want something specific for you, yeah, absolutely, this is possible. Mautic also has a number of other features that are important for enterprise: performance and maturity. Mautic has evolved a lot in the last few years, and it can do complex marketing automation at scale. We've done this for Inagro, a company where we did increase the open rate from 21% to 40%. 21 is the average open rate as reviewed by MailChimp, and the open rate that we have was a little over 40%. So really good open rates. And why is that? Because we provide personalized information on the agenda and personalized content inside of the emails, really tailored to the people based on their preferences in their profile. The people in the Mautic community already know this because I've shown this example already a lot. And it can do many more things. Mautic can do, for example, many emails. The queuing systems in core allow you to send out a large number of emails when set up correctly. Really millions of emails. That's what it's supposed to do. But it's also multilingual, and translations exist for 80 languages. And I was working on the code sprint 2 days ago, finishing the Dutch translation. So this is a really work in progress, but there's already 80 languages. So it's enterprise ready there as well. It also contains cross-channel campaign orchestration. So you can do campaigns that go to text messages, but also emails, and then have really complex flows to be able to make some nice complex campaigns. A/B testing and personalization are also options that you have in Mautic, and advanced reporting. So you can create your own reports and dashboards, as shown by this screenshot. You can have it mailed to you every specific point in time, and then you can push the data to your reporting tool of choice, which is often a case in enterprise tools because they have their specific reporting environment and they want the data there, and this is also possible. Double opt-in, obviously, even if your marketeer doesn't know what double opt-in means, we all need to learn. Mautic provides the possibility to do this in a number of ways. Bouncing email addresses, there's also multiple ways to handle these mail addresses in Mautic. So there's the webhook way that like SendGrid provides it. You could do it with a custom campaign. You could also do it with an external integration. Many ways to do this. And then there's a number of advanced capabilities Mautic does not have. And I think these are the pain points that we experienced with client exploring Mautic for a replacement for a proprietary tool. First one extremely granular permission system. So in their tool, they had permissions based on organization units on top of the role-based access. So in Mautic, we have role-based access. It's very granular already, so you can have specific roles of specific accesses on mails or channels or campaigns. But for some enterprises, they really want to go more detailed. They want to have one group of people that has access to one specific project with their specific campaign and emails and nothing else. And Mautic doesn't provide this out of the box. Also, masked fields based on a user role. If, for example, these fields contain personal identifiable information, not all user roles should be able to see this. And I'm not aware of functionality that exists in Mautic that does this currently. So if you are interested in these functionalities, we would love to build and contribute it, or absolutely also learn more about it. Another functionality that's not out of the box, and this is also briefly what I mentioned in the other presentation about high volume Mautic, real asynchronous click tracking. So Mautic servers, when you really send out lots of mails, the server tends to get choking on the data. So we are actively working on this. We provided something which is not yet entirely finished, but it's and when we've battle tested it, then we're ready to contribute this back to the ecosystem. Sending out segment emails in waves is not a functionality asked by a big client. They have the problem that they send out a segment email, and I'll talk about the targeting later. They send out a segment email to a large audience. All these people pick up the phone and start calling to the contact center. So they need to be able to send out mails in waves so that when the people start calling, they all don't call at the same time. And for this, we made it look very similar as the current proprietary system. So there's a wave type where you can say continuous, which means just pump out all of the emails. But you can also say, okay, 10% per wave or absolute number, 1,000 mails per interval. And the interval can be like 60 minutes, so 1,000 mails per 60 minutes. And then when you send the segment, it will start pumping out those emails at the given times. Also here, we will contribute it when possible and when it's really mature. Proper email validation, so only check the valid domain. Same thing there. We will also contribute this when we're ready for that, so that proper email validation and not just the domain checking can be in Mautic core. And then this is, I think, what's in the title of the presentation. Adobe has incredible targeting capabilities. In Adobe, you have these actions that you see here, and they could be data loading. There's SQL code that you can do, import, export. There's integrations, and this is just a fragment. There's a number of other features that you have to make workflows that you can use in Campaign Manager. And the main feature that we were asked how to solve with Mautic was the advanced targeting, querying of the external data on the fly. So it needed to happen every time again. It's not just importing the contacts and then working with them in Mautic. No, it's every time querying the external system, finding all these data points, making this into a single set, which we then push to Mautic and then can target using an SMS campaign or an email campaign. Sources would be like Oracle SQL or MS SQL or BigQuery or other systems or CSV files. So this is where we looked at Apache HOP. And I was just telling this to Joy before the presentation. I was given this assignment, and it was really hard because I was looking at the number of ETL tools, and there's a number of ETL tools out there which are really nice, very technical, very advanced, but the business wanted to be able to use it. So we had non-technical people that really wanted to be able to make the targeting themselves. They wanted to make the combinations and the queries and the filtering. They wanted to make it themselves. So it had to be user-friendly enough so that it's not only for developer audience. And of all I think I evaluated 20 or 30 tools. Only Apache HOP was a tool that was user-friendly enough, but still powerful enough to do both of these things. It's not a perfect tool. It's a work in progress, and there's many things that I are working on. but it's a really powerful tool that does the job. So it looks like this, the architecture. So we have these external databases here, and then we have our ETL tool or Apache HOP, where the targeting people make sure that they combine the right data sets, which they then push into Mautic for doing the marketing automation things. In the past, you used to have Pentaho and Talent, which are other tools that Apache HOP now replaces. I think one of the big advantages is the visual development. It's like a intuitive interface. It needs some getting used to, but they're working on it. One of the other big advantages, I think, is they're backwards compatible. So you can just import Pentaho flows and they will just work. You can use old Apache HOP flows into their new system and it will just work. So that they really have some nice engineering in there. It's also a growing community. It's a proper Apache, so it's a real open source tool. There's a number of concepts in there. There's the concept of pipelines, which is an important one. There's a workflow, which is the high level thing where we will start. It has a web interface, which I will show you in a minute. And you can also have a runner on, for example, in the cloud somewhere where you can push workloads towards. They're working on a server which is not ready yet, like a web server, which you can log in and do your management there, but this is a work in progress on their side. And I'm showing an example flow. So what you see in this flow, let me switch to the live demo. I think live demos are always more interesting. I'm going to make sure to open the questions tab here. So if you have questions, let me know, and then I can make my demo a bit tailored. So I'm going to start with the workflow here. What you see here, perhaps I increase the size a bit. So this is the high-level workflow. This is a workflow icon. And you see that I've added a number of pipelines here. And I'm first setting some variables. These are like parameters for your flow. What I set in the variables, for example, is the name of my segment and the name of my email I want to create. And then in this create email pipeline, what am I doing? I take the variables, I write some logging, I transform it into JSON, and I push the data to Mautic. This is a REST call. But because this is a workflow and this is a reusable component, I can use this in many places. So I can create Mautic emails from all over HOP. You only need to create this transform once. Same with the creation of the segment. So I'll open this one. Here you see getting the data from the variables, transforming it to JSON, creating the segment, and then parsing the segment details out of the response from the server. So once you set this up, the segment is created, the segment number is parsed to the email, so we can immediately in this thing link the email to the segment. So after running this pipeline, the email that's created in Mautic automatically will be linked to the right segment. And once you have the segment and the email created, it makes sense to add contacts into it. And since we're targeting big volumes of contacts, and this is the goal of the tool, I made this into a separate pipeline. So we're going into this one. And this is where the magic happens. So you'll see in the slides, it's very similar, but I'll walk you through it in the interface, which is a bit more intuitive, I think. So you can have inputs, multiple types of inputs. You see there's BigQuery inputs, big table, beam file inputs. There's all kinds of file inputs, Excel, Google Sheets. You can input all kinds of data. But in our case, let's take a table input. You can just add one like that. This runs the query. And then in the query, you can say, okay, use the database connection, this one, and then we're going to create a select statement. So we're going to take a specific database. I don't want to include all the column names, because the column names, if you have a database table that has hundreds of column names, and in these big data stores, this happens to be the case, that will be an enormous query. So for now, let's go with select star. You could also limit your query here if you would feel like this, but I'm going to go with everything for now. So this is a good table input. You could then run this just to test, to see what data comes out. But actually, this is exactly the same. So I'm going to remove this for now. Oops, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so here. So what happens here, I think I can run it actually. Yeah? Let's do it. Now you'll see that it starts running the thing and some data comes out of it. Can I see the table output? Table inputs, yeah, it's run a number of things. My microphone is in the way. Preview output. Yeah, so you see that there's some output coming out of the system, and you can, like, at each step, you can debug the output. I didn't have my Mautic connection configured here. This is why it blocks there. But the next step is sorting the rows. So you can then configure the sort so that it sorts on a specific column. You can then filter, because since we have hundreds of columns in the system, we only want the relevant fields. Then we can filter out only unique mail addresses, because if you have your database and it contains the same email address 5 times, you don't want to send them 5 emails. Adding them to Mautic wouldn't be a problem, because it would be added to the same contact, but still cleaner data is better. And then you can join in extra data from other tables as well. So this one gives you the possibility to add tables based on specific fields. And so you can merge in different kinds of data from all kinds of different data sources. This gives you a set of data that will then be piped towards creating the single contact, which is this one, which will then create the post to the contact to Mautic for every of these items. So this will result in all of these contacts being added into Mautic, and then they will be added to the segment, because the segment parameter is a variable. And then I'm going to open a pipeline. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the wrong one. So, and then it will be added to the segment. So let me see if I've covered everything. So you can load data from all kinds of data sources, and then you can sort it, select specific fields, and filter based on properties or data. And then you can enrich data with other data sources or other systems, which you can then activate. You can then send it to Mautic in order to activate when the marketeer in Mautic, when they activate the segment email, it will start sending emails. The possibility of sub-pipelines, I think I explained. This reduces duplication in many flows. Actually, this is an advantage we have over proprietary tools, where they're now copying all these flows all over the place, and they're copying the same steps in tons of things. So having these sub-pipelines makes it much clearer than it would be in proprietary tools. I see a question from Joy. Is this add to Mautic a REST call, contact, or a file import? Currently, it's a REST call so actually it's just a sub-pipeline, which also does a post for the contact, and in this case, add contact to segment is just the URL add contact to segment, contact/segment/add or something. Does this make sense, Joy? Let me know. So reiterating the sub-pipelines, we have it, and it's nicer than I think in some of the proprietary tools, because they're copy-pasting all of the flows, and we have reusable flows that we can use in other pipelines. What's also cool about Apache HOP is you can run these pipelines, because if you would be running it the normal way, that will be on your Java, on your local machine, yeah, it will take up your memory. And I was talking with someone 2 days ago, and they said, yeah, but you have to take into account your memory. Well, you can also deploy a container on a server in the cloud, and then run the pipeline on a specific server. This means that you can have these workloads being run distributed. It's native supported by Apache HOP. This is out of the box what they do, so it's really nice, I think. So it's not perfect, because it's different tools. It's not well integrated like it is in proprietary tools, but it does the job. It covers the functionality. It's a capability that we can use and add. And then another advantage why you want to go to Mautic. Well, open source companies thrive if the ecosystem thrives. Dropsolid supports the community with sponsoring and contributions. That's, I think, also why we got the Partner of the Year a few days ago for the second year in a row, which we're very happy to have. Thanks for that again, all of you. We were also the most active company last year because of the activity of a few of our contributors. Thanks for that again. And we're also really working towards a sustainable environment. With AI, more and more, you see that it's consuming enormous amounts of energy. We're also adding AI to Mautic in the future. And I think having this in a sustainable way makes perfect sense. So this is why one of the partnerships where we did proof of concept, they have a number of buildings in Ghent. And these buildings have solar panels on the roof. And these solar panels, they power the heating and the cooling of the buildings. Their idea was, it's really a cool idea, by the way, if we put the server in the basement of this building and use the rest heat of the server to heat the building, then we reuse the same energy. So we use it twice. And then we can also use the servers to power web servers and AI servers at a cheaper cost than, for example, Google. And so this is a proof of concept that we did, and it's really nice to see that you can run AI in local buildings in a sustainable way. It actually felt a bit like the internet a long time ago, where you had decentral servers. Well, this is a very similar system where you would have decentral AI in buildings all around. I think it's a cool idea. Okay, and then some closing notes. I think what I want to close with is, can you go from System X, Adobe or Eloqua to Mautic? Absolutely. Will it be easy? Well, it would be the same than if you would go from another proprietary tool to another proprietary tool. There's always migration involved, and there's always some hassles there. It takes some time. It's not super easy. Will you need customizations? Perhaps. It's certainly possible. Will you need a partner? I think, yeah, it would be best. But will you be better off? Absolutely. No doubt about it. No doubt about it at all. So if you're ready to cut your license cost, regain control, and start innovating, yeah, let me know. Give me a sign, and then we'll get in touch, and then I'm happy to help with that. Okay, Joy.
Thank you, Frederick. This is the point when there should be, like clapping and everything. And this is what we're really missing from the, thank you for the emojis, by the way. If anyone is pressing those, this mean a lot for the presenters. The interactivity is really missing. And there was a joke in the morning from Jeffrey that it's like COVID again. But at least we have a broader attendance base due to the fact that it's on the internet. Please add questions if you have any. In the meanwhile, I do have a question. In the beginning, you mentioned that these enterprises require things that Mautic cannot do, and you will develop them. What do you think would be, how could we fast track it? Like companies, how could companies like Lightfire, Friendly, Dropsolid, and others work together so we're not doing this redundantly? Because we have the same inquiries, obviously, on different markets. So we're not really competitors, but it's all interest that this happens. So how would you do that if it would be, you would be in charge of such a project?
Yeah, good question. Good question, Joy. I also had the same idea, like, and actually the fact that perhaps some of the other companies already have these features, which I'm not aware of, is part of the problem, I think. What I did was I reached out to Ruth, to the project lead, and I asked her, like, how should we do this? And she told me, look, you can make a project proposal on the Mautic. I'm not entirely sure if I'm saying it correctly, but on the forum. So what I did was I made these pages there. I'm going to see if there's a reaction there, but I think at least it should be out there somewhere. So it should be at least visible somewhere. And I think if you have other prospects that are interested in doing the same move, yeah, I think we should give these, what do you call it, projects or ideas or innovations a flag or a star or whatever it is, so that we can work on them together. So yeah, because I'm happy to collaborate on this.
Great, thank you. The other thing I wanted to ask, when a company comes to you and says, hey, we want this feature, does it happen that they want exclusivity on this feature? So you can't open source it because this is something and it's not about the data they use, but they say, we don't want you to in any way do this transparently.
Well, I think I have two answers to that. One answer is enterprises of that scale, they just hire developers to build a number of things for them. So what I saw in one customer, without naming them, was that they just hired people that started building these things on top of Mautic. So and they just don't contribute this, which is I think okay for them. But what I saw in other companies, and actually this is also similar to a conversation that I had 2 days ago at the in-person conference. I think you want to contribute and you want to have things as much in core as possible, because the further you go away from core, the more the support is only on you as a company. So the more you share the resources and you share the support cost, the lower it is for everybody. And so I think this is proper open source. This is like how we all are used to working. And I think for some companies, it makes sense to have business logic they only support. But I think the closer you stay to core and the less you deviate from it, the less your support cost or your total cost of ownership will be.
Yeah, very true. There is a question here from the audience. First of all, can you share the links to the forums community project proposal? If someone from the staff is able to find it, then let's not ask Frederick to look through his things. I would use your time for something else. So what was the biggest hurdle in using and connecting HOP?
Yeah, I'm going to answer both of them. So Sven, what I suggest is I'll put the proposals in a Slack to you. I'll put them in the general channel somewhere so that you can find them. And then the other question about the biggest hurdle in connecting HOP to Mautic, actually, it wasn't the connecting itself. It was the getting used to the different interface. HOP has a very different interface. And I think for the customer, this will also be a hurdle. So it's going to be, because it's a different kind of interface. It's a different kind of tool. They use transforms, which is like the buttons you add into the pipelines. And there's a lot of them. So just already finding out that you need the table input to do the queries took me a bunch of time to find out. And so for me, the biggest hurdle was getting know the tool. What I did, I just reached out to the contributor and asked him, like, look, this is what I want to do with Mautic. And he explained to me that step by step, you have to make this transform and then do that. And then he guided me through it. And I think at some point in time, it would make sense to have in Mautic a similar flow. It would make sense. It would make perfect sense to have similar targeting capabilities in Mautic. But for now, I think it's a good solution. And I think they're working on the next version, which will be very nice. They're working on a nice web version. And then perhaps a closer integration is possible. I'm discussing this with the maintainer. He is absolutely open to having a tighter integration with HOP and Mautic. So this might be something for 2026. But short answer, the interface.
Cool. Thank you. I'm checking the questions. No more questions here. Yeah, well, in that case, thank you so much, Frederick. And it was amazing to have you also in London. And thank you so much for the second presentation as well. I think this is the conclusion. And if you guys want to stay on this channel, in this room 1, then there will be 6 pre-recorded talks, lightning talks. All of them very interesting. Some of them will be also talking about webhooks, posting, receiving. I can definitely recommend that, and also other interesting topics. So thanks again. This is the virtual clapping for Frederick. Thank you so much for doing this. And I see you guys in the next, after 20 minutes approximately. Sorry, 20 minutes. Yes, after 20 minutes in this room. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.